Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're taking on a topic that a lot of leaders still file under HR pleasantries,
Hmm.
employee appreciation, and we're going to make the case for why it's actually one of the most powerful strategic levers you have. We're moving it out of the morale column and squarely into the bottom line column.
And it's long overdue, I think.
Yeah,
The stakes are, well, they're massive.
yeah.
And we really have to start with the most persuasive metric there is.
The cost of doing nothing.
Exactly, the cost of inaction.
Yeah.
When you look at retention, the numbers are just unambiguous.
Mhm.
SHRM research shows companies that are really committed.
To strong systematic recognition program.
Right. They experience a staggering 31% lower voluntary turnover.
31%. That's not a small gain.
It's not a marginal gain at all. It's a structural shift in your workforce stability.
And when you do the math on that, I mean, the true cost of losing a employee severance, recruiter fees, all that onboarding time, the 6 to 9 months it takes to get someone up to speed,
Oh, absolutely.
you're easily talking millions, sometimes tens of millions of dollars saved every year.
The savings are huge, but the data, it goes even deeper.
Yeah.
You have Gallup and WorkHuman researchers confirming that employees who feel well recognized are, get this, 45% less likely to quit after 2 years.
So it's a long-term effect.
It is. This
Wow.
isn't just about preventing a bad quarter. It's about cultivating genuine long-term commitment. And when you see it through that lens, it stops being a soft skill,
And becomes a hard strategy.
a cost-effective, preventative retention strategy that actually stabilizes the business.
I see. Okay, so recognition is really an investment in stability. Let's unpack this and get strategic. Our mission today is to understand how appreciation can transform from, something sporadic and manager dependent into something systematic and data driven. We'll look at the strategic value, explore that timeless leadership principle of how and when to praise, and then, and this is crucial, look at the tech infrastructure you need to actually scale this with integrity across a huge organization.
So let's start with that foundational relationship, recognition and engagement. Because what we're really trying to unlock here is that idea of discretionary effort.
The willingness to go above and beyond.
Exactly. It's what people do when no one is watching. And that isn't driven by salary. It's driven by an emotional connection to the work, to the company. And that's built through consistent, meaningful appreciation.
That makes perfect sense, but a lot of companies, they only really recognize people at an annual review, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe a holiday party. Our sources say frequency is absolutely critical here.
It is a generic pat on the back a couple of times a year. The engagement needle barely moves.
So what kind of frequency are we talking about? What should we be aiming for?
We need to see recognition become part of the daily workflow, not a special event. Think of it less like a performance review and more like professional oxygen.
I like that.
And when that frequency is there, when it's consistent, when it's authentic, that's when you see the real productivity outcomes. You're boosting intrinsic motivation, the pride in a job well done.
And you're also reinforcing those extrinsic factors. You're telling the employee that their hard work is visible and it's actually linked to their career growth.
Precisely.
So recognition isn't just a morale lever, it's a strategic input. It becomes part of the development cycle. You're not just celebrating the win, you're linking that achievement with constructive feedback for growth. It creates a complete forward-looking loop.
It does.
Which brings us directly to one of the most enduring pieces of leadership advice in our sources, the classic, praise in public and criticize in private.
It's timeless for a reason.
Right. This isn't just about being nice. It's a strategic psychological tool.
Yeah.
So why does public praise work so well?
Well, it works because it taps into these really fundamental human needs. The need for social validation, for acceptance, for, belonging.
Right.
When recognition is visible, it does two critical things at once. First, it validates the person. It shows their value by the tribe. And second, it sets a very clear, visible standard for everyone else. It says, this is the behavior we celebrate and reward here.
But the execution is everything, right? It's easy to say praise in public. What does effective public praise actually look like?
It has to meet a few key criteria. Otherwise, it just falls flat, or worse, it feels manipulative. It has to be specific.
It's not just, Sarah did a great job this quarter.
No, never. It has to be, Sarah's Q3 data analysis found a bottleneck in procurement that's going to save us $250,000 next year. It also has to be timely, as close to the achievement as possible, and of course, genuine and appropriate.
Appropriate is the key word there, isn't it? I know some incredibly high achievers who would just cringe if they were called out in a company-wide email. How does a smart leader navigate that?
A next-level leader knows that customization is crucial. Public praise is the default, sure, but if an employee prefers private acknowledgement, maybe due to humility or cultural norms, the leader has to respect that.
Because the goal is to make them feel valued, not exposed.
Exactly. For that person, a quiet, personalized note from the CEO might be 10 times more impactful than a big announcement.
Okay, now let's flip that. The other side of the coin. Private criticism. This is where psychological safety is either built or completely destroyed.
Instantly. If a leader criticizes someone in public, even gently, you immediately trigger a defensive reaction. The person stops hearing the feedback. All their mental energy just goes to managing embarrassment and protecting their social standing.
So the leader loses any chance for actual growth or behavior change.
Completely. You've replaced a learning opportunity with fear, but a private setting that creates psychological safety. If I pull someone aside and say, hey, I know the data was incomplete on that report, let's talk about the constraints you were under and how we can fix that next time.
Then it becomes a conversation.
It's a dialogue. It lets them ask questions, explain what happened without fear of judgment, and actually learn. You want them leaving that conversation feeling respected, not shamed.
That works really well for a small team. But let's talk about the executive worry here. A common concern is, doesn't delivering all criticism privately hurt transparency, especially if an error impacts the whole team?
That's a fair question. And the source outlines a really smart 3-step strategy for that. Step 1, address the individual privately first. Give them specific feedback and a path forward.
Okay.
Step 2, discuss the situation with the team, but in general terms. You focus on the event, the process failure. You never name the person responsible.
So instead of saying Sarah made a mistake, you'd say there was an error in the Q3 data collection.
Exactly. And then step 3 is to focus the entire team discussion on process improvements, on systems checks, on lessons learned. How do we prevent this from happening again?
So you maintain the individual's dignity while still getting that organizational learning.
And you maintain transparency about the process, which is what really matters. It's a perfect example of applying an old principle with modern large-scale integrity.
It's powerful, but all of this, the frequency, the specificity, the customization, it's only scalable if you have the right infrastructure. You can't rely on one manager's good intentions or memory.
No, ad hoc appreciation across a global company just becomes sporadic. It's inconsistent.
And that's the infrastructure challenge. The philosophy is great, but if you have 10,000 employees, it just won't happen systematically if you're relying on email chains.
Or physical thank you notes.
Right. And this is where digital recognition technology just completely transforms the equation. These platforms solve the manual limitations right away. They give you accessibility and frequency.
Real-time appreciation, 24/7, anywhere. You don't have to wait for a quarterly meeting.
And crucially, they unlock peer-to-peer recognition. This feels non-negotiable for a modern strategy.
It is. Your peers see things managers never will. Those small wins, the extra effort. When colleagues can directly appreciate each other, the volume and the authenticity of recognition just skyrockets. You create a culture of appreciation.
Okay, let me push back on that a little. If anyone can recognize anyone, how do you prevent, recognition clicks where people just trade points or where the loudest team says sales dominates the whole feed? That would make the data noisy and unfair.
That's a really valid concern, and it's why modern platforms have to include analytics and monitoring. The system has to track participation diversity. If your data shows 80% of recognition is just flowing between 3 teams,
That's a red flag.
it's a huge red flag. The strategic response is to highlight those recognition deserts and encourage specific drives aimed at support functions or cross-functional wins to ensure everyone is represented.
The visibility aspect is also huge. Recognition is seen by everyone, which amplifies the impact. And for the leader, the platform provides analytics and accountability. You can track the patterns, find the gaps, and figure out who your real recognition champions are.
And the tools themselves are so much more sophisticated now. They have features like values-aligned recognition. You can create custom badges that directly link back to your core company values.
Like a break the mold badge for innovation?
Or a cross-pollinator badge for collaboration. So you're not just celebrating effort, you're reinforcing the specific behaviors that drive your strategy.
And we have to talk about mobile-first accessibility. This isn't just a nice-to-have feature. For companies in healthcare, manufacturing, retail, it's a strategic imperative.
Absolutely.
Your most important frontline workers don't have a desk. They need to be able to give and receive appreciation right there on the shop floor or in a hospital corridor. If your system isn't mobile, you've basically created a two-class system.
You've excluded the very people you rely on most.
Exactly. And once you have that robust infrastructure, then you can build these company-wide programs that actually scale.
But scaling needs clear criteria. If your big awards feel opaque or like a popularity contest, the program will just breed cynicism. You need clear, diverse categories. New hire star, innovation champion, customer hero, something for every type of contribution.
And organizations often use a tiered approach to solve a really critical tension.
Which is?
How do you have frequent daily appreciation without devaluing your big annual highest level awards?
Right, getting that balance. So tell us about the tiers. Okay, so you start with Tier 1, spot recognition. This is the immediate, informal digital kudos. It's high frequency, low reward value, just to keep that appreciative buzz going.
Okay.
Then you have Tier 2, monthly recognition, for sustained performance. Maybe it's featured in a newsletter, the value goes up a bit, but is mostly about visibility.
And then it gets more formal.
Right. Tier 3 is quarterly recognition. This is for major achievements with more formal awards and bigger rewards. And finally, Tier 4, annual recognition. This honors the absolute highest performers, the company legends. The rewards are substantial and often linked directly to career development.
That tiered system makes a lot of sense. It maintains that constant appreciation, but saves the big honors for the big achievements.
Exactly.
But this structure seems very focused on individuals, and modern work is so collaborative. If you only recognize individuals, you can create what the sources call perverse incentives. What does that mean?
A perverse incentive is when your reward structure accidentally drives behavior against your company's goal. So if your biggest award is the solo star of innovation,
You incentivize people to hoard information.
to hoard data, to not share credit, to optimize for their own visibility instead of the team's success. The outcome is less collaboration and more silos.
So team rewards are essential to reinforce collaboration and build cohesion.
Precisely. Team rewards acknowledge that big wins are almost always a coordinated effort, and they make sure those crucial support roles, the behind-the-scenes coordinators, get appreciated too.
But the delivery matters, right?
The delivery is everything. The rewards have to benefit everyone collectively. A team celebration, a budget for new training, collective time off, not individual gifts for a team win. You have to celebrate the shared success.
So the best strategies balance both that high-frequency individual appreciation and robust team rewards. You need the whole ecosystem.
A complete collaborative recognition ecosystem, yes.
Okay, so the system is in place, the strategy is running. How do we know it's working? What gets measured gets managed. We have to track this with data. What are the key metrics?
First, recognition frequency. You have to track the average number of recognition events per employee per month. If that number is low, your culture isn't alive.
Okay, what's next?
Second, participation. What percentage of employees are actually giving recognition? Is it just managers pushing it down, or are peers engaged? A high peer-to-manager ratio is a sign of a really healthy culture.
And then finally, you have to connect it all to the true business impact.
Right. You compare the retention rates of your recognized employees versus your non-recognized ones. You track how recognition frequency correlates with your engagement survey scores or your productivity numbers.
This is where it gets really interesting. This is where the discussion moves beyond retention and into strategic talent management.
This is the ultimate accelerator. Recognition can move past just morale building when you link it directly to career growth.
So we shift from using it as a lagging indicator of morale to a leading indicator of potential.
Exactly. Your recognition patterns should be informing your talent pipeline, your succession planning. If one employee is consistently being recognized by peers and managers across different departments for innovation or complex problem solving,
That data is gold.
it's incredibly powerful. That person should be on the list for mentorship opportunities, for leadership training, for strategic special projects.
Because if you're not using that data, you're missing this huge, unbiased indicator of true influence. The people who get things done, regardless of their official title.
It transforms recognition from just a social reward into a tangible career accelerator. It creates this self-fulfilling prophecy of success by identifying merit that senior leadership might otherwise never see.
We have to close by just noting the critical pitfalls from the source material, the things that make these programs fail. You have to avoid inconsistency.
That initial enthusiasm that just fades after 3 months.
You have to avoid complexity rules so complicated that giving recognition feels like work. And you have to eliminate that generic, automated, great job.
And maybe the biggest pitfall of all is treating recognition as HR's job. It only works with genuine buy-in and active participation from every single leader, every employee. It has to be a shared cultural responsibility.
So to recap our deep dive,
Recognition isn't a soft skill. It's a strategic imperative that drives performance, retention, and culture. It has to be implemented through clear leadership principles, praised publicly, give feedback privately, and supported by systematic technology that enables peer-to-peer connection and measurable analytics.
and when you do that, if your recognition data can show you who receives appreciation, who gives it, and which behaviors are reinforced across the company, it becomes so much more. It becomes talent intelligence.
It becomes predictive, not just reflective. And that raises our final provocative thought for you to consider.
What is it?
If you could use recognition analytics not just to measure morale, but to map the true influence and potential of every single employee, the people making things happen, regardless of title, how would that transformation change the way your organization defines leadership, succession, and reward?
Something profound to think about as you reevaluate your own organization's approach. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you on the next one.